counting down.
Oh.
Hello. Oh, I don't like this. You can't see all the comments. Hold on. I'm going to check that it's working. Bear with me 1 second, everyone, because this feels really bizarre. It is working. You can see it.
Yeah.
Okay, so I want to get that up so I can get comments as well. Sorry, guys. I'm being blonde and don't know how to use my phone. I'm not seeing this. Is it definitely there?
It's definitely there. Yep. It is delayed. So as if the Facebook delay for comments wasn't long enough, it's going to be even more delayed now.
It's just not showing up in Power Team for me at all.
That's
exactly.
So I can't. I'm viewing it there right now on my other screen.
Okay.
One person's watching.
In which case,
hello.
Yay!
Hello, person.
You're going to have to tell me.
Oh, that person's probably me.
If there's any comments.
I can read out the comments.
Excellent. Okay, because that's very bizarre. Well, at least we're managing to fill some waffle time like before.
There's more people watching now.
Is there?
Yeah, there's 3 people watching now, apparently. Hi, 3 people.
Well, can we see who they are? I don't like it. Why did they stop like the way we used to be able to do it? Oh, look.
I don't think it's intentional, and I hear that they're going to be bringing it back.
Yeah, you put a test comment. Okay, I can.
So you can see the comments.
Well, sort of. It's just showing us frozen on mine at the moment, but I don't know why that is. So, guys, anyway, we are waffling a little bit while we wait for people to join in. I can see a few people are joining in. Now that's just gone.
I was about to say, if you're watching on the replay, skip all the stuff that we've just done. But if you're listening to this bit, then you've already sat through the stuff that we've just done.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, so hold on. Oh, it tells me here there's 4 viewers and live comments.
Hi, Helen.
Excellent. Oh, you can see who they are as well.
No, it's just that Helen said, hey.
Oh, it just says Facebook comment for me.
Hi,
Helen.
On Facebook.
Okay, fine. So we'll get started then after all this freaking waffle and trying to figure out, me and technology, we don't particularly get on well at the best of times. But I am very, very privileged to be joined by Duncan tonight. He is going to help teach you guys a whole wealth of info, really, and things to help you go into the new year really fired up and really knowing how to make the most out of that year, I hope. Anyway, he might not, who knows. So mindset is one of those things I waffle on about all the freaking time. For me, it's probably the biggest change in my business that made it go from struggling to actually getting somewhere. In fact, I've done a recorded video that most of you may have seen, which is my secret to success, which covers pretty much my shift in mindset and my change around that. So that's going to be a huge focus of today. Duncan, first question for you then.
Okay.
Is how do people use their own mindset to hold them back?
In such an amazing myriad of ways that it never ceases to amaze me just how creative human beings can be at finding new ways to trip themselves up and hold themselves back. So yeah, there really is a ton of ways that people get in their own way and trip themselves up. I guess the most common is probably the more creative and the more clever people are, whether they acknowledge and admit that to that intelligence or not, the harder it is actually to get out of your own way a lot of the time. Because what people tend to do is they use that creativity and that intelligence to overthink things. And then they creatively imagine just how bad it could be if everything that possibly could go wrong did go wrong. And before you know it, they've accelerated to decades in the future and everything's blown up in their face and gone horribly wrong. And they're not actually, they're exaggerating one thing on top of another until they get to a completely unrealistic scenario. And then they've never actually taken that first step because they've already compounded it in their head to how bad it could be if things just kept going wrong.
Okay, that's really interesting because
There's a flip side to it as well, which is just as bad.
Okay, so you're saying when people think about their success in their future, they're actually not seeing the positives in it and the things that could go right, but they're actually putting obstacles and seeing things that could go wrong and therefore don't bother to try in the first place?
That's one quite common obstacle, yeah. I'm not saying that's the reason for everyone, but there are a lot of people, yeah, particularly, and that's effectively what people talk about creativity a lot. A lot of the time, that's where anxiety comes from. It's thinking about worst case scenario and what could go wrong, and then thinking about it creatively. So they're engaging their imagination, which means that they then start to have that physiological response as if it's really happening. You know, when you feel stressed and panicked about something, but it's not even a real thing. It's just something that you're imagining for yourself. And when people start along that track, the tendency is to run away with it and exaggerate it even further.
Okay.
But like I say, there is the flip side of that, which is where people imagine it going well, or not. They tend not to spend a lot of time imagining it going well, but they think, okay, what if it goes well? And then start to panic about, well, if it goes well, and if I really apply myself, and if I really try, then what if it goes so well, and then people expect more from me, and I can't live up to that, and I don't deserve that.
Do you know, that's actually such a common thing, isn't it? And I never got that. I never used to understand why people would be scared of being successful. I just didn't think about it. But when I reached a level of success, I suddenly realized the new challenges and the new things and how much more difficult some things became, that then in hindsight, I completely got why some people would have been scared of it reaching that level and things like that happening. But at the time, it wasn't anything that really crossed my mind. But it all happened, to be fair, for me, everything happened so quickly anyway that I didn't really get a chance to stop, think, or even know what I was aiming for. Okay, so that's some of the things that people use their mindset to hold themselves back. How easy is it then to overcome those things and to change that thinking into something that can push you forward?
It's really easy. Really, really, really super duper easy. And the great thing is that people overcomplicate it, and they people, the wizards, whatever. You know, there's a tendency out there to believe that the answer that you need is somewhere out there, and that you need to spend time experiencing things and going through things and researching and finding out those answers that are out there. But the truth is, the answers aren't out there. You don't need to learn anything new. You don't need to experience anything different. The answers are absolutely already inside you. It's not some new skill that you need.
Like I said, there's bad.
Don't unmute that. That'll be loud.
Yeah, I was trying to see the comments. That's not going to work. Okay, so what do you need to do then to change your thinking?
Do it. It sounds daft, but the first step is to do it. Just do one thing, one small thing that moves you in that right direction. Stop thinking about the big picture and how grandiose it could be, either whether you're imagining it all going really well or imagining it all going wrong. Stop, take a step back and just think, what is the next action that I can do? What is the one thing that will take me just one step forward? Because if all you're thinking about is that next step, then you're no longer, it's not about some big long-term plan. Don't get me wrong, goal setting and having those plans is brilliant. But if you find that thinking ahead to that is getting in your way and that's overwhelming, or it's too much pressure for you, or you don't believe you can achieve it, then forget all of that and just think about, how can I be or do a little bit more now than I did yesterday? What's that next step I can take that's just going to move me one step forward? Because then it's not such a big, scary thing.
Okay, two points on that, actually, because that's so true. That's massively true. So one thing I've talked about openly in here and openly to you is that I have suffered from mental health and anxiety problems in the past. One of the biggest things when that happens, when things implode in me like that, and it's all physical for me, and I just find it really hard to function, is that one step at a time. So that goes down to the basic level. If I just get in the shower, I will just get in the shower and I will just get that done. Then when that's done, I will just get dressed and I'll just get the kids in school. Then I'll just reply to that one email. Then and it's that allowing myself that space that if I just do that one thing and then I need to stop, I can, but that propels you into doing more and more and more. My other point on that is that there is a quote that someone told me. It was at a training day in January 2 years ago now, and it's stuck with me ever since. Because I don't think I'd ever heard anyone say it before. And it was that action comes before motivation. And I think so often we sit there and we go, oh, when I'm in the mood to do some writing, I will put that pack together. Or when I'm in the mood to make phone calls and I'm not feeling so insecure or unconfident, then I'm going to hit that and do that task. And I think that was a real eye-opener for me, that actually you're never going to get into that mood. But if you take the action and do it anyway, you're going to become more motivated because you're going to feel that sort of endorphin rush of, oh, I've done that now. I've ticked that task off. Even though I didn't feel comfortable, I've done it. And now I want to do that again and again and again. And that's how things, like all these small tasks that we do all day, every day, especially in this business, are not big tasks. They build into something much, much bigger. So there was 2 points I wanted to add on that.
That's right. I just want to repeat that last point because I think someone joined in watching when you were sort of after you just made that point, and I think it's a really, really valid point. So I'm just going to reiterate what you just said.
Okay.
Your wording was, or the quote as you worded it was, action comes before motivation. Yeah, absolutely. Really, really important to start doing that thing, and it's amazing how much easier it is to get into the mindset of wanting to do more of that thing if you just start doing it. One example of that is creating that 2-minute rule. So just sitting down to do 2 minutes of that thing. Now, if you're the kind of person like me who would go, aha, no, I know what you're trying to do. You're trying to trick me into doing more. Then that can still work. Just do 2 minutes. Literally only do 2 minutes and walk away from it. Because actually still doing that 2 minutes is better than not doing it at all. And then when you're ready to come back to it, or when you next force yourself to do just 2 more minutes, you're already partway through. You've already started it, so it's easier to carry on with it.
So in line with that, something that we do at our training days, and actually we haven't scheduled this in for January, but through the May and September ones, is we always do a power 15 minutes. So we train 45 minutes on a subject, and then everyone in the room gets 15 minutes where you put your head down, phones out, and literally put into action some of the things that you'll learn. And it's so surprising how much you can get done in a small period of time if you are truly focused on just that thing that you're doing. Because a lot of the time we're so, like, I'm sat here now with a phone here, a laptop here, a laptop underneath here, and we're so stretched, like doing so many different things. But actually when we just go down and focus a small amount of time, we can get so much done. So when it comes to success, achieving your goals, achieving your dreams, how much of that in your eyes is down to your mindset?
Define mindset.
Your thinking and your belief in yourself, or your power to visualize, maybe the wrong word, see yourself.
Okay, here we go. So in simple terms, it's 80-20, isn't it? It's the 80-20 rule. If anyone doesn't know what I'm referring to, Google it. But it falls within that. So putting mindset aside for one moment, we'll pick it straight back up because that's what I'm all about. But putting that to the side for one moment, 80% of whatever it is that you need to do is about actually doing it. It's about taking that time, having that intention, right? 20% is about how you actually implement it and the way that you put that into action. Now, you could spend 80% of your time trying to achieve something, and you could put a lot of time and effort and energy into trying to do something, but you're never going to achieve it if you haven't got yourself set up ready for that success, if you're not actually prepared to move towards it. Because if you're not prepared to move towards it, all you're going to do is be busy, really, really busy, wasting your time, because you're never going to follow through on that last step. And it's only one action that really makes the difference. Yes, like when someone's an overnight success, they've never been an overnight success. It's lots of little things that they've done. But it's only ever that one last thing that makes the difference, that tips it over the edge. You will never do that one last thing by fluke. If you don't believe that you can, if you don't look after yourself first and work out what it is that matters to you, it's too easy to hold yourself back and get in the way by just not taking that one step. So yeah, sorry, to simply answer your question, 80% as a rough figure is about mindset, is about that belief. 20% is about how you put that into practice and how you implement it.
So what about your skill set?
Skill set's obviously important, absolutely. But if you have a real belief and a real determination, and I don't mean a blind belief, yeah. So when I'm talking about having the right mindset for success, if we use that terminology, it's not about just blindly believing that if you just believe it hard enough, it's going to work, right? I'm not.
I can't ask the universe.
Apologies to anyone in here who really believes in the law of attraction, but I'm sorry to say it's not true. There are elements of it, absolutely, there are elements of it that are very, very useful. 100%. And in fact, when you look at positive psychology, there is research and science behind those elements of it. But when you start to look deeper, there are massive flaws in it. If it works for you, and if that belief in the universe drives you forward, great, keep doing it. Don't let me change that. If it's not working for you and you feel like that's your fault because you just didn't believe enough, that's the time to step away from it and instead, come and have a chat with me.
So I think the reason that book has been so successful, the law of attraction is so successful, because it's almost like a placebo effect, isn't it? There is something about asking the universe, putting it out there, what you want to achieve, saying it out loud, making yourself know what it is you want to achieve, puts that in the front of your mind. Therefore, you see the opportunities around you more clearly, which are linked to that thing you want. 100%. Whereas you 100%. Haven't put that into your head.
So there was a study done. A bloke called Richard Wiseman, great psychologist. He specialises in quirkology, which is the quirky psychology of modern existence. Anyway, really interesting bloke. But he did a study where he got a load of people together, asked them questions about whether they considered themselves to be lucky or unlucky, did a few experiments, and then sent them out into the world. And the experiment really began as they left the room, because what he did is he left some money on the floor outside. And he did that to see how many people would notice it. And I don't remember the exact figures, but I know that it was huge statistical validity in the findings that basically said the vast majority of people who believe that they're lucky found the money and picked it up. The vast majority of people who didn't believe they were lucky didn't see it and didn't pick it up. If you believe that you're a lucky person, whether you believe it as luck or whether you believe it as actually being open to the opportunities that are around you, doesn't matter. It's that 80% is about the belief and the intention. The 20% is how you do it. So if you really believe that you're a lucky person, you'll be a lucky person, not because of luck, but because you're open to and prepared to accept into your life. That sounded a bit law of attraction, didn't it? Accept into your life. Wow. But you're open to those possibilities that are out there and you're ready to grab them.
Okay. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Also, Chisholm
slightly off topic there, I think.
Said the thing that I was going to say as well. But I can fly then if I've got blind belief. But that moves us quite nicely into belief, though. So for me, in 2016, when I sat there in January and I wrote my goals and the things I wanted to achieve in Osborne, I was a team leader. And in fact, I've been struggling to qualify as a team leader for pretty much the last 12 months. One of the words that I wrote down, which was sort of my focus for the year, was believe. And that was to believe in myself, believe in my team, believe that everyone who came into this business was going to be hugely successful with it. And it's the word that I kept with me throughout that entire year. So that year for me was incredible. 1 in 5 people who joined my team did go on to become a team leader. We went from that team leader title to hitting group leader, divisional leader, and executive leader within a 6-month period. And our business just exploded. For me, that's why I talk about my change in mindset and my change in belief being the thing that propelled my business forward, rather than any of the actual tools or things that I actually did that year, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
So how important is it that people believe in themselves?
Hugely. Did you want a more in-depth answer than that?
I do, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. It's hugely important. Um, so here's the thing. Let me tell you a little story about me. This story may involve a little bit of alcohol, but that's not the point of the story. So I was sailing. I was sailing a ship around the Dutch islands. It was a beautiful. It was my 30th birthday, and I'd gone with a load of friends, and it was awesome. And being a big ship with like 6 masts, of course, there was this massive pole. Sarah knows a lot about massive poles.
I know the
In the
story, actually.
in the galley of the ship. And the captain of the ship obviously spent a large amount of his life out at sea and on boats, so his forearms were the size of my thighs. And there had been a few, well, there was beer on tap on the boat, so, you know. And my friend Stuart decided it would be a really fun idea to challenge everyone to see who could. And you could only just get your arms around this big pole. And so my friend Stuart decided it'd be a great idea to see who could hold on to it for the longest, right? Now, I know better. I know better than the reality that I allowed myself into in that moment, which was, as I approached it, I said, I'm not going to be very good at this. I slurred it slightly at the time as well. I said to myself, I'm not going to be very good at this. And I actually said it out loud, which is just ridiculous because I know how much difference that makes to your ability to perform. But I said it anyway. Sure enough, I grabbed on. I couldn't hold on for very long. I let go within a few seconds because I hadn't got a proper grip, and so I failed miserably. Basically, the skipper managed to do 2 minutes. He managed to hold on for, which is quite impressive actually. I went away and I had a word with myself, and I said, "Come on, that's not on. You know better." So I took a nice deep breath and I went back in. And I know because I've done prior to this point, I'd done self hypnosis. I'd spent a lot of time working on my mind, so I knew that I could do better than that. And so I went back and I grabbed hold of the pole again, and stop it. And I took a nice deep breath and I relaxed. I held on, but I relaxed, and I knew that I was going to win. Stop it. And I knew I was going to win. So I kept holding.
Okay.
I kept holding, and I kept holding. And I was waiting for someone to tell me that I'd beaten the 2 minutes, and no one did. So it was 2 minutes and 10 seconds after that I finally said, "How am I doing for time?" And was told that I was winning. And so at that point, I comfortably stopped and stood up. The skipper of the boat then tried to take a second attempt, but he failed miserably because he had already worn himself out from the first attempt. And I won. Yeah. I did not
You are
win because I'm
so
physically
competitive.
stronger. 100% can guarantee you that the skipper of that boat was definitely physically stronger than me. I won because I was mentally stronger. I won because I had the belief that I
No,
could.
you're just hugely competitive. So there's a flip side of that. For someone who comes from a sporting background, I would sometimes go into a race or go into something and say to my competitors, oh, I'm not going to be able to jump that. But in my own thinking, I know too damn fucking well I'm going over that pole or whatever it is as well. So it's a way, you know, there's always a flip side of it. Some people say that it's not actually what they mean. Okay, so I think we've established that believing in yourself is hugely important and can make the difference between whether you get a promotion, get success, get the earning level you're looking for, whatever the goal is, whether that's even Osborne related or not. How do you make yourself believe that it's true?
Sorry, that was me trying to be clever and do something else in the background without giving it away. How do you?
So if I set a goal where it's stupid, ridiculous, but I want to earn £1 million next year, okay? But if deep down I'm not actually believing that that's possible or that's true or that I can do that, how do I change that?
Simple. What you need is evidence. Evidence that you can do it. Now, how can you get evidence that you can do it without having done it, right? You don't need evidence that you can actually achieve that. What you need is not to work on what you want to do, but who you want to be. Because when you're working on something that you want to do, firstly, it's something outside of yourself, right? If it's something that you want to do, then it takes effort, right? Because by nature, we are lazy, right? Human beings want to conserve energy and achieve as much as we can with the smallest amount of effort, right? It's how we're designed. That's why it's so much more rewarding and so much easier in a lot of ways to go through the drive-through at McDonald's, where you're putting in zero effort and getting the maximum in terms of fatty, sugary crap, but it gives you that rush kind of reward. So we're designed to do that, right? So if you want to achieve that and you're thinking about all the things that you need to do to get there, that can be really difficult, because you need to take effort to not do what you would normally do and to create something else, to do something else. However, if instead you focus on asking the question of who you want to be, so when it comes to a task and how you want to go about it, or making a decision of what you're going to actually do in that moment or that day or whatever, instead of saying, okay, what am I going to do, or what actions do I need to take, think about who you want to be first. So if you want to be a successful person, have it clear in your mind what that means for you, by the way. Don't just go by someone else's definition of success. And say, what would a successful me do? And then think about it, and then take that action. Because if you're doing that, what you're able to do is each time you take an action that you believe a successful person would take, you've got more evidence to support that you are becoming a more successful person.
Okay.
It allows you and gives you the opportunity to model positive behaviors. But what you're doing is you're building up a sense of who you're becoming, who you want to be, what kind of person you want to be. And if you're that kind of person, then it's really easy to take that action that delivers a positive result, because that's what that kind of person would do.
Okay, so I'll put my hands up. I don't think I've ever really thought about the person I want to be. Mm-hmm. Something I do challenge myself with is, am I being the best version of me I can be? Cool. So is that similar, or is that completely different?
No. That's very, very similar. Yeah. For some people, if you believe that you can be a better person by just taking that action for yourself in that moment, then absolutely, that's a great way of doing it. But for some people who are watching this, I'm sure there are people out there who struggle to believe that they're good enough. They're wrong, by the way.
But doesn't everyone struggle to believe that in some aspects of their life?
No, yeah, totally. I mean, you've seen my video on imposter syndrome, as I know a number of people in the group have. So, yeah, absolutely. Most people at some point will struggle to believe that they're capable of doing things.
Why do we do that?
Why do we feel imposter syndrome?
Well, why do we believe we're not good enough to do something? Is it, again, the evidence? Is it so?
It's a combination of evidence and protection. Yeah, so we want to protect ourselves, because it's much easier to be average. There's no risk with being average. You blend in. But if you do something more, if you do something better, you stand out. And with standing out draws
fake confidence comment. Someone should put a comment saying, we're always told I'm confident. It's total fake confidence, but it's starting to slowly become real. Who put that?
Just looking now, sorry. I had a different screen open. Charlie Ireland.
Charlie! I get that completely. Because I am so not as confident as what.
And James Chisholm said, it's a good job you said that. I was just about to try and fly.
I know. I spoke about that earlier. But I think that's true. I think for so many people, it's not that I'm faking confidence. That's the word faking feels very bad to me, but I'm definitely not as confident as people perceive that I am.
So here's the thing. When I talk about confidence, and I mean this for illustrative purposes, not for literal purposes, but I talk about two different kinds of confidence, okay? So there's two elements to confidence. There's a bit more than that when you break it down further, but there's two main elements to confidence: internal and external. So how you come across, the confidence that you employ when speaking to a room full of people, for example, is very different to the confidence that you feel internally. Now, you can get up and deliver an amazing talk by just faking it, although it's not faking it, but going with your terminology there, you can absolutely get up and present brilliantly to a room full of people by faking it, by focusing on that external confidence.
A game, isn't it? It's bringing that.
Yeah, absolutely. That's not the same thing as the internal confidence. And actually, to be able to do that and deliver that while inside feeling less than confident, or it's a different thing, but yeah, that actually takes more of a challenge than just being confident and getting up and doing it. But the more that you do it, the easier it becomes. And the more that you work on that external confidence, the more that internal confidence will grow. Absolutely.
Okay. Inside. So I completely get that.
So, Alaya Chelsea. I'm really sorry if I've said that name wrong. Miss Maddox.
I can't do the name.
You say you tell yourself that you can, and you try to convince yourself, but deep down you don't believe it.
I think a lot of people are going to be like that.
Yeah. So I wonder how many people here do affirmations or have heard of affirmations and how well they use them. But it's another thing that The Secret, I think, talks about, doesn't it? I think.
I confess I haven't read The Secret.
Good, don't bother. But affirmations are really useful and they are really beneficial. But a lot of people get them very wrong, especially because there's a very Americanized way of using them, which generally for us in British culture does not work so well. Which is, you stand in front of a mirror and tell yourself how great you are until you're great, right? And don't know about you, but I don't feel like I'm a really confident person. I love myself, right? And I'm not going to make any excuses for that. I'm not going to hide that. That doesn't mean I think I'm perfect. I know I'm not. There's lots I can still improve on, but I enjoy the process of doing that. But anyway, but even I don't want to stand in front of a mirror, look myself in the eyes and tell myself I'm wonderful. It doesn't sit right and it doesn't feel natural. Don't get me wrong, particular things that I do appreciate, I'll gladly say, but that's different. But if you want to be successful, if you want to be rich, if that's your idea of success, then standing there staring at yourself in a mirror saying, I am rich, isn't going to make it any more true. And the fact that you don't believe it means there's a chance that internally, as you're saying it, you're already disregarding it and saying, no, that's not true. So you're not listening. So there's no advantage or benefit, or very, very much more diminished advantage or benefit to saying it. However, if you simply turn it around into something that's progressive, it can have much, much bigger benefits. So if you think about, instead of saying, I am successful, talk about I am becoming more successful. Yeah, instead of saying, I'm a confident person and going, yeah, but I'm not really. Why not say, I am improving and becoming more confident? Because just by taking that time to focus on that as part of your progress, as an aim, as something you're working towards, just by taking the time to focus on it, you are improving, even if it's just a small amount. So the more that you repeat something like that, making sure that it's a progressive thing, something that continues to get better, that you're working on, that feels a lot more comfortable for most people to say to themselves, and actually you can't argue it. You're not going to dismiss it because it's something you're working on and improving.
So that's actually really interesting because I've never heard you talk about affirmations before. However, I was at a coaching session recently with a different coach, and that was a huge part of what we spoke to. And again, it was the same way as you, not doing it in that American style of standing in the mirror, but using things of I am going to become this person, I'm going to do that. I think.
Sorry, sorry.
No.
Can I slightly build on something you said?
Yes, of course you can.
So I am going to.
Yeah.
Is not such great use of language. It sounds positive, but it's really important, particularly if you're doing things like affirmations, that you have an understanding of the time scale. Because in your head, if you say I'm going to do something, you're not going to.
What's the difference between I am going and I'm becoming?
Because that's present tense. Yeah. Okay. So if you're talking about the future tense, like, oh, I'm going to do that. How many times have you heard someone say, I'm going to do that, and not actually bloody done it? Compared to the times that people say, no, I'm doing that right now. Yeah. Okay. So I am becoming more confident is so much more powerful than I'm going to become more confident.
I'm not that confident. So I think this ties in with what you said earlier, though. It's also the evidence to build that belief around you. So I'm very, very privileged that I have been sent many cards and postcards and things over my time, which will build those affirmations. So I actually don't have a list of affirmations that I read every morning. I know many, many successful people do. I do not. I do, however, have surrounded myself with post-it notes, and things from other people telling me the person who they see and I want to become, perhaps. And I think for me that although I don't read them every single day, there are definitely times that I will sit and read them when needed. And sometimes things always hit at the right point. So at the weekend, I wasn't particularly having a great time. And I got a very random message from someone who I hadn't spoken to for about 3 or 4 months saying, I've just been thinking about you. And I just wanted to say a huge thank you for the help that you gave me earlier in the year. It made a massive, massive difference to me. It absolutely re-kickstarted me, and I've had the best year now. And that all started from when it was completely out of the blue, completely out of nowhere, but it hit at that perfect time. And I think sometimes, I don't know, sometimes that happens. That's really off on a tangent. I don't know where that came from.
No, I like it. Although it's interesting that you said the person that you want to become. Based on observations.
I'm not very good at bigging my. So you know this. I'm not very good at being able to stand there and say positive things about me.
No.
So I love to read positive things about me, but like it's I'm just not very good at it. I don't know.
So here's the thing, right? When a child's being naughty, they're not a naughty child, are they? They're just a child that in that moment is misbehaving or behaving in a naughty way, right? Maybe I should avoid talking about kids to a whole group full of people, most of whom have kids when I have none. Maybe I've gone down the wrong route here, but I was trying to kind of engage with an example that you guys would understand, right? But yeah, you wouldn't say that kid's a naughty child, right? You'd say that kid was behaving in a naughty manner.
Okay.
You might not use that wording.
So you're trying to say I behaved in a good manner in those points.
What I'm trying to say, what I'm not just trying to say, but what I am saying is, if I see someone in a situation where they're being angry and reacting and behaving angrily, it's very easy for me to assume that they're an angry person if I've not seen them in a different context. So those people that have written those letters, some of them maybe are viewing it from the perspective of the really successful Osborne leader, Sarah, who's the #1 in Europe and whatever other great things. You look so comfortable when I praise you. But so they're seeing that and they're reflecting that back to you. Does it matter that they're responding to you when you were behaving that way, as opposed to you when you were behaving in a disorganized fashion, like not, with everything going on all around you at the same time and not sure whether to focus on your kids, your husband, your ponies, or whatever else, right? Or probably trying to just focus on all of them at the same time, knowing you, and somehow managing mostly it. But the thing is, you're going to look at you, and your tendency will be to look at your weak points, the things that you're frustrated in, which is okay because those are the things that you're working on and improving. So that's kind of a good thing. It's kind of useful. But their perspective isn't that. Their perspective isn't all of the things that Sarah gets frustrated about in her own life and wants to improve and is working on. Their perspective is the things they're praising you for, the things you've done well. That's what they're seeing. It doesn't matter, or you shouldn't allow it to matter as much, what is going on for you in other areas. They're praising you based on what they've seen. Who are you to tell them that they're wrong based on that
They're
standpoint?
wrong.
So embrace that feedback that other people give you and enjoy recognizing that that absolutely is the person you are, not the person you want to become. It's the person you are when you're in that moment, when you're in that zone, when you're behaving that way. That is absolutely the person that you already are. And if you're in a place where you need to be more like that person, remember that and think, okay, when I am that successful Osborne leader that's doing really well, when I am that person that motivates their team well, when I am behaving in that way, how does that feel? What's that like? Get into that zone, think about that, focus on that, and you'll be able to replicate it a lot easier because it's, like I say, it's not something external, it's not something that's out there, it's something you've already experienced.
Yeah, and I get that. And you know that I get that because you see those moments when I'm frustrated and blah blah blah, but you also see the moments when I'm going, I freaking love my job and I'm awesome.
Yeah.
It's not. I know it's there, and it's not so
I'm
much.
using you as an example for the rest
I
of your
know.
group, by the way. It's not all
I'm
just
going to stop talking about me in a minute. In fact, I'm going to stop talking about me now because something else that you picked up on that I did and you corrected was that I said what the point you're trying to get across is, and you corrected it to the point that I am getting across. So yeah, so let's talk about that word try.
Yeah, let's not actually, let's just get rid of that word completely. Okay, so here's the thing, Sarah, I just want you to talk to me about what are the biggest successes you've had in Osborne. Just tell me some things that you've done.
Okay. Biggest, happiest, successful moment for me was watching Nicola White win an award for top new recruiter. So having her up on stage winning something alongside me was amazing.
Cool.
And you want me to list more?
Yeah, I want you to tell me about some things that you've done in your past that you're really proud of. It doesn't have to be Osborne related if you don't want it to be.
Things that I've done that I'm really proud. I'm proud of, creating this community. I'm incredibly proud of all the people that are in here and what they've achieved and what they've done, and the fact that I've started that. I'm incredibly proud of the amount of books that we've sold and put out there between us. I am proud of myself for my ability to keep going when things are rubbish. So to climb out of holes and to usually see the positive in a situation. Not always.
And you've done sporting stuff in the past, haven't you? So tell me about some of the successes you've had there.
See, that's a tricky one because it was almost unearned success. That's going to sound really, but I was naturally, sorry, phone call. Naturally athletic, naturally very sporty. I didn't have to go through a process of much of trying to build and learn and grow and achieve. I just happened to rock up and got told to go run around an 800-meter track and happened to finish it 20 seconds ahead of everyone else. I then got put into competitions and just happened to be able to win them all. It wasn't something I set so that's a really tricky one for me to say, oh yeah, I feel really proud of what I achieved then, because actually I didn't put the legwork in that gave me that sense of, fuck, I've done that now because I've worked. So because you get that when you've worked really hard, when you've set a goal and you know you want to achieve something and you've put that effort in, that's when you get that, I'm really pleased with myself because I've been through some effort and I've got some outcome.
Cool. Okay. So the actual context and things that you were talking about there weren't at all relevant, but the way that you were talking is what I wanted to get at. So if I go back to some of the points that you've made, you spoke about having this and doing that, and you spoke about as a team, we have done this. You spoke about how you were creating things. You spoke about working really hard and did this, done that, been like this. The only time you used the word try is when you said you didn't have to try. That's slightly different. And different kind of context there. Okay. So why is it so often when people are talking about things they want to do in the future, they talk about trying to do things? When you were speaking about the past, all of those things that you succeeded in, all of those things that you achieved, you did them. You didn't try them. When people talk about things from their past that they didn't achieve, that's when they use the word try. Tried that, didn't like it. Tried to do this, didn't work out. I tried it. I know not to do it again. Yeah? People don't use the word try when they're talking about times that they were successful. It's the same thing when you're looking to the future. If you keep telling yourself or telling other people, because ultimately you're just then repeating it to yourself when you do, that you're going to try and do something, it ain't going to happen. Unless you're really determined and you've got willpower. Don't get me wrong, like it can happen if you've got willpower and you're focused on that. But willpower doesn't work the way that people think it does, and it takes a lot more effort to use willpower than it does to achieve things without using that willpower. But if you say that you're going to try and do something, you're already implying that you're going to fail. Because if you spoke about something you had attempted and not achieved, you'd say that you tried it, but you didn't manage it. If you did it, you would have said you did it.
Though we're in a culture where we don't like to sound big-headed. So if someone says to us, "Oh, you're going for that promotion, or you're going for that incentives," we don't want to go, "Yeah, I'm going to hit that." To like our peers and our friends, we go, "Well, yeah, I'm going to give it a try," because that's the culture that we live in. That we say things like that. Or do you disagree? Or are we in that culture, but we shouldn't be? Fuck it.
I agree that we're in that culture. I don't think it's the only option anymore. I think it used to be a bigger problem than it is now. I think that culture is very much based on what people think that other people will think, rather than what they actually think. So, for example, if I said to you, I've had the best month this month, the most profitable month in my business ever. How awesome is that? I'm going to beat it again next month. You wouldn't think, "Oh, who's that arrogant guy saying that he's going to beat it?" No, you'd go, "Yeah, good on you. Go for it. Good luck." Yeah, well, you probably wouldn't say good luck, but that's the whole other thing. But you would, particularly because we're friends and we support each other, but you'd feel kind of a sense of pride, I guess, on my behalf of being determined to go for it, right? You'd want to encourage that.
I'm holding you accountable for it now.
There we go. Excellent. See, so so that's not made you go, "Oh God, who's this guy?"
No, but you're right. There's a difference the way you and I would speak to each other than perhaps I'd have conversations with other people, because that is the way that we are. It's the way that we work, and you and I work.
No, that's very fair. That's very fair. But literally, most people watching this in your group will have a bigger issue with them saying nice things about themselves than they would have with someone else saying nice things about themselves. That's the point I was trying to get at there.
Yeah, and I completely agree that if you say that you're trying to do something, you're almost limiting it out before you get it. However, I'm going to use the travel incentive as an example in this company. The first travel incentive I went for, I wanted so much, because it was Vegas, because it was somewhere I really wanted to go and always wanted to go. I wanted it so much, but I was freaking clueless on how I was going to get there or what I was going to do to make that happen. So I probably would have used that word try, or I'm going to give it my best, or give it my all, I'm going to give it my best shot, that type of wording. And boy, did I have to try hard that first month to struggle to stay in the qualifying period. It was the moment. And actually, Stacey, bless her heart, I remember ringing her halfway through the month when it's not happening. I don't have the volume. It's not happening. I'm nowhere near, and I don't know what else to do. And her words were like, well, you've got a choice. You give up now, you write it off, and you come back next year and try and go for travel incentive, or you give it your all till the end of the month. And if you still don't do it, you know you've done everything you could. And I decided to put on my big girl pants and just go all out. And in the last 3 days, I managed to pull together £800 of sales volume, which allowed me to stay in that run and then go on to hit it. But ever since that travel incentive, because I'm a big evidence-based person and I know I've done it once, as soon as it got announced, so we had our travel incentive announced today, it's Bangkok. So my wording and the way I speak to everyone today is I'm going to Bangkok next year, because I have the belief that I have done it. That will be my 5th travel incentive in a row, that I have the belief that I can do it and find a way to make that happen. And the fact that my first one was such a struggle and I was so unprepared and hadn't got a freaking clue how to do it taught me that I could actually, you know, with determination.
If you can do it then, it's so
yeah, if I can pull that together out of nothing at that point, I can do that again. But you spoke about willpower. I've always had that in bucket loads. Like if there's something I want, my God, I'm going to find a way to get it. So I don't how do you get that? How do you get? So my goal is that I want every single person in this group who wants to promote to get their promotion next year. Like that is ultimately my goal in life, is to help everybody as much as I can to hit the things that they want. I can't do it for them. I know I can't do it for them. That's impossible. Like there's just too many people. I couldn't physically go and do everything for everyone. And I know that the difference of then hitting it and not hitting it is not anything to do with their skill set or their ability, because everyone in here has what they need inside them already to do that. The difference is how determined they are and how much they prioritize it in their lives and the other things around them that will make the difference. How do I get people to believe that it's possible for them and to have that determination to go for it? What do these people need to get that for themselves?
Okay. Step 1, before you even begin, plan. Okay. Now, I don't mean, because this would make Sarah very uncomfortable if I did mean this, I don't mean get out your diary and sit and plan every minute of your life, right? With kids, I'm sure that's not even a practicality for most people watching this, right? Because things get in the way and come up, right? But plan at least enough to know what 3 things you need to achieve that week to move yourself forward. Yeah?
Or, I completely agree with that. So that is part of our promotion process, is to plan and to break down and to overplan. So because I wanted to go to Vegas so much, and because I had no clue how I was going to do it, my plan was to double the criteria of what I needed every single season and every single month. So if I needed to hit this amount of sales volume, my aim and my plan was to hit double of it. So I had slippage if it went wrong. So, you know, yes, the whole point of having like a complete diaritized every second of my day, you're right, would absolutely terrify me and I wouldn't be able to cope at all. I already don't like how it is. Look. January, that hasn't even got everything in it. And I don't like it. But you have to have some type of plan. If you've got no plan, you've got no direction, you've got no instructions, you've got nothing, you are just floating every single day with no direction on what you're meant to be doing.
Yeah, exactly. And the other huge advantage that comes with planning, I want you to mentally rehearse as well, right? So when you plan it, think about what that's going to be like as you work towards that, as you get those results coming in. Really think about it, really place yourself in that position, because mental rehearsal, actually putting yourself... Okay, let's use a really extreme example, which probably actually isn't that extreme compared to having kids. The military, okay? When the military are planning and working on missions and tactical rehearsal, they make a point now, and it's included. The Navy were the first to take it up. Good old Navy. they include this mental rehearsal, right? They plan ahead and they imagine the scenario over and over and over and over again. What they're doing there is they're preparing themselves to be able to react and respond in that moment. And in a high stress situation, you don't fall back to your level of training, you fall back to your level of rehearsal. You will never be the best that you can be if you're relying on something that you learn compared to something that you've experienced. The great thing is you don't need to actually go out there and experience it for real. You can experience it up here and you won't really know the difference. Obviously, the more you experience it in real life, the more variables you're prepared for, etc. So when it comes to planning, what you're doing as well is you're creating that belief, you're creating that expectation that this is what I want to achieve. So planning to achieve that, you're visualizing it, you're creating for yourself in your mind a belief, effectively, that that's what you're going to be doing and that's what you're working towards. When you have that clarity that that's your aim, that's your goal, that's what you're working towards, when you rehearse it mentally, it becomes so much easier to achieve that, because that's what you're working towards in the back of your mind subconsciously as well.
So, yeah, you put the word in there at the end, that visualizing. I think that's really important. And I think it's something people don't do enough of. When I was a kid, I was just told to stop daydreaming all the time. I wasn't actually daydreaming. I was visualizing something else I wanted to be doing. And I think that's the difference. For me, I think I do it a lot in terms of if I've got to do public speaking. So I never, when I won awards in Osborne, I knew I was going to have to go up on stage and accept, or I knew there was a high chance I was going to win and have to give an acceptance speech. I never wrote a speech, but I visualized, one, because I wanted to win that award. I visualized myself going up on stage, having that award and what I was going to say. And two, I needed to have seen myself being confident enough to stand up in 300 people on a stage and give an acceptance speech. I do it a lot with the training events. So in January, I have absolutely visualized a lot of those sessions or what I'm taking part in, even your session, which is bizarre because actually you're in control of that. But in my head, I know what's going on in bits of it.
Definitely move it around then. Definitely going to change it.
It doesn't matter. I think however you change it, you end up coming back to what's in my head. It's not, anyway. Completely off topic. But yeah, I think that's right. People have got to believe and see themselves having that promotion, having that email drop into their box saying, congratulations, you've just hit this, having that first person join their team and what they're going to say to them, you know, having that school, you know, running that conversation of when they pick up the phone and ring a school and say, hey, I'm your local Osborne organizer. I'd love to come in and help your school get some free books. Is there anyone I can have a meeting with? If you've already run that through in your head, and actually what you've run through is a positive reply from that, it feels a lot less scary when you just go and do it.
There's another reason why it works so well as well, you see. So I'm sure that everyone in this group has experienced something along these lines. It's nearly Christmas, right? What an exciting time of the year. Okay, we get all worked up and your kids will do this. All excited about Christmas, all worked up about it. It's going to be brilliant. You all get together and then it's kind of Christmas Day. It just kind of happens. It's over so quick, and it's not like it's disappointing, but there are certainly moments of it where you go,
that changes as a parent.
yeah. But your kids will have had it too. You would have had it as a kid as well at some point on some level, sure.
Yeah.
And if not Christmas, then other things, right? But normally Christmas, because what happens is, it's just anticipation. Reward anticipation is what it's called if you want to go all cognitive about it. But basically, the expectation of that good time, expecting that and thinking about that, actually releases endorphins, it releases dopamine. You get a dopamine hit anticipating something that you're excited about, just as much as you do actually, in fact more sometimes than you do actually enjoying it.
So I don't like New Year's Eve because of this.
Sorry?
Because I don't like New Year's Eve, and it's because of this. Because in my head, New Year's Eve, one, it's a forced party. It's not natural flow. You're forced to try and go and have a good time. And two, you have this anticipation that it's going to be this amazing event of that. You know, everyone's going to be really happy and everything's going to flip over. And actually, it never is.
And it's
Pubs
like
are
this
like that.
massive anticlimax, yeah. And
Yeah,
then no one
yeah.
knows the words to Auld Lang Syne. Yep. Yeah. So that's exactly it, right? So, but you can use that to your advantage as well, right? Because if you're imagining it going well, visualizing it going well, what you're doing is you're actually getting yourself excited about it, which means you're going to be more passionate about it. It means you're going to be more inclined to work towards it so you can actually achieve that thing. And it becomes exciting. The process working towards it becomes just as exciting as the actual end result. And so when the process becomes exciting, that drives you on to want to do more. Well, like you said yourself, because you achieved it the first time, it made it so much easier for you to achieve it going forward. But it's the same in steps along the way. Right at the very beginning, you were talking about that quote,
Action becomes more.
Action becomes before motivation. Yeah, absolutely. If you take action, that motivates you to want to do more action. It's because you're working towards that thing. It's because you're building that anticipation of the greater reward down the line. So your brain gives you a reward for working towards that thing.
Yeah. So we've now been talking for an hour.
Yay! Sorry.
Okay. Is there anything else you feel that you want to say before we wrap this up?
Very briefly, I was going to come back to a point from Miss Maddox, because I'm not going to risk saying the first name wrong again. She said, I say try because I can't guarantee it will happen. If I ever say I will, I only end up disappointed because it didn't happen.
Aww.
So, I mean, there's kind of a compounding negative belief in there, which we could go into in more depth, but I won't. But what I would say is, if you can't bring yourself to say that you're going to do it, then tell yourself that you're working toward it. Because then you're still avoiding the word try, and you're talking about what's happening right now. Present tense, I am working towards X. Wouldn't it be great to be working towards it? Because even if you then don't achieve it, at least you're still in a stronger position than you would be if you were just telling yourself, you're going to try and do it, but you're already admitting failure. Because that's effectively what you say. When you say try, you're admitting that you're not going to do it. Otherwise, you'd say you're doing it. Yeah, do or, in the words of Yoda, do or do not. There is no try.
There is no try.
So yeah, I just wanted to come back to that point and kind of clarify that that's how you can still avoid the word try, and be focusing on moving towards that thing. It's about what you're taking action on.
Okay, so let's summarize 3 things that someone who wants to promote next year needs to do.
Everyone has the ability to do it. If one human being can do it, another one can. If Sarah can do it, you can definitely do it, right?
See, I've been saying that for years and no one believes it.
But no, genuinely, look, we're all humans. We all have amazing ability inside us. The only difference, the biggest thing, the one thing that you need to do differently to be that amazing person, to achieve that greater success, to do that thing, is to just believe you can do it. And you can. The next thing is to take action. It doesn't matter how big or how small. Rather than tripping yourself up, and creating all of these worst case scenarios, best case scenarios, what that means, what comes next, just do it based on what action can I take right now, and what would be the action of someone who's working, who is successful. You know, if I want to be that kind of person, as that kind of person, what would I do? And it makes it easier to take those actions. And then finally, that was 2 points, wasn't it?
That was 2 points.
Yeah, 1, you absolutely can do it because everyone can. 2, do it in small steps. Just think about what the next thing is. And third and finally, stop trying, and realize that as part of that, like, failure is a great thing. Failure really is a great thing, because I used to say there's no such thing as failure, only feedback, which sounds great, right? But you know what?
Times in learning, fail.
Yeah. But you know what? Call that actually fail. Fail time and time again, because the more you do, the more you learn, and the closer you are to success.
I fail all the time, like all the time. I will try things and they will go wrong and I will fail. But I just keep going. And I think that's it, isn't it? It's that keeping, no one needs to see every single failure. I mean, as a mother, I fail like all the time. But shh. But it's like keeping going. Can I add in with the believing yourself, which is so important, is that's the point you do your visualizing as well. So it's believing it's going to happen, visualizing that it's going to happen, then taking that action, and you've got to take action.
One thing I really wanted to mention earlier, and we moved past it, but I'll come back to now. Sorry, I know we're running.
All right, I've got no problem with being later, but
when we talk about visualizing, not everyone actually knows what that means necessarily, and sometimes when people do know what that means, they take it a little bit too literally. Different people experience things in different ways. You don't necessarily have to literally visualize it. You can instead think about how that feels to you. What would that feel like? And really focus on the feeling. You don't necessarily have to focus on what it looks like. So yeah, do what works best for you as an individual. If that's visualizing as in actually literally picturing it, great, do that. But for a lot of people, have that emotional connection as well. Step into that visualization and think, how would it feel to be there? And think about all of the senses, not just the visual. Cool.
Excellent. Dream, believe, achieve. Oh, I like that. I can't see who's put it, but that's what I have
hasn't come up for me yet.
Imprinted on the mugs and things that I send out to people. So that's something that I really, really like. Dream, believe, achieve. Thank you.
It disappeared for me.
Oh well. You can lose. That's really, really, really brilliant. Thank you. I hugely appreciate you taking the time and staying in your office until gone 9 o'clock at night to deliver that.
It's right.
So thank you.
Bananas for company. Look.
I've been looking at bananas and I almost pointed them out. So yeah, I'm going to end the broadcast now. If anyone has any further questions, I know people will be watching this back. So please do put your questions in and Duncan will come back and answer them. And I will catch up with you guys soon. Bye-bye.
Thanks for watching, everyone. And this is where Sarah finds the button.